Another day, another Pokemon investing video. I hope some people's Black Friday specials that they bought online have started turning up. I've got a few turn up. I think I mentioned, oh, that'd be right. That's ripped. Beautiful. Didn't even notice that. I bought a few of these Zacian premium figure collections and Zamazenta off Kmart, $39, 11 Crown Zenith booster packs. That's Australian, by the way, 39 Australian dollars, which is about 25 US. So it works out about $2.40 or something, $2.50 a pack. Super cheap. Bought 4 of these. There's obviously the Zacian one, and of course the Zamazenta one. So 4 of those, 2 of each. The others seem okay, but the first one obviously had a little rip in it. Not too fast, doesn't really bother me. I just thought the packs at sort of $2.50 US a pack is super cheap buying. But anyway, on to the topic of today's video. So it's been a little while since I've done one of these. I went through the whole Sword and Shield era, scoring each and every set on a score out of 15. The higher the score, the more investable the set as a, I suppose, future proposition. Now, the scoring was pretty simple. There was 3 criteria. Each criteria was scored out of 5, which of course equals 15. And the higher the score, the better the investment, or the better the set as an investment opportunity. Now, those 3 criteria were pretty straightforward. I looked at the print run, or probably more importantly, supply and demand of the set. I also looked at the hits, the big chase cards and the smaller hits, like the depth of hits throughout the set, and scored that out of 5. And then I looked at the fun factor and scored that out of 5. So now that I suppose Scarlet and Violet's had a little bit of time to sink in the market, we're going to get started and score Scarlet and Violet base set out of 15. Please leave me some comments down below. Where do you see Scarlet and Violet sitting as an investment opportunity, base set that is? I just want to thank everyone again for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do. The videos are going to keep coming on Pokemon and Pokemon investing, so thanks heaps to those of you that already are. Anyway, we're going to mix it up just slightly. So the first criteria is still going to be the supply demand, or the print run. The second criteria is still going to be the hits, both the major chase cards and the depth of ancillary hits. The third criteria I'm going to change just a little bit. So before it was fun factor, which sort of equated to, you know, how likely it was for someone to want to keep this as a sealed display or open it in the future. I guess I'd almost like to change the wording on that to reason to purchase. Like, why would someone want to buy that product in the future? Because the only way you're going to make money off it is if someone pays you more for it than what you paid for it. That's basically the simple equation when it comes to sealed Pokemon card investing. So I think I'm going to change that to reason to purchase. Anyway, let's jump into the first one, right? Supply demand. So it's a new era. The Nintendo games have come out. They are the most popular Pokemon card games in the franchise's history. The demand for the games is at a high. The demand for the cards seems to be at a high. Printers are at an all-time high. And I think it's proven by the demand for this set when it came out. And supply had to match that, though. There was a massive initial print run. Like, it was huge. So print run was massive. We also had a second wave come out probably about 3 months ago, which was pretty drastic as well, pretty big second wave. Will there be, this is a big question, will there be another massive wave of Scarlet and Violet base? I don't know. I feel like we're starting to get a little bit deep into Scarlet and Violet base for there to be a third massive wave. I'd like to say it's done, but we never know, do we? Like, we never know what's coming our way. To give you an idea or a snapshot of the sort of print run so far, there's been 42,093 graded cards with PSA. Of those, 17,492 have graded a 10. And if we talk about quality of English versus Japanese, I mean, that speaks volumes in itself, doesn't it? It's 2023. This is the first Scarlet and Violet set. Now, I'm not suggesting just every pack fresh card should get a 10, but we've all opened Scarlet and Violet cards and they are just so far off center, or they're so factory damaged, as people like to say. So 42,000, 17,492 10s. That's maybe a touch abnormal, like that ratio of 10s, given, you know, most people, these are pack fresh pulls sent straight to PSA. In terms of the most sought after card, which I'll get into with hits in a second, the Miriam, there's already 2,425 10s. I expect this whole graded population of Scarlet and Violet base to only grow a bit more, of course. What will it get to? Where will it stop? I certainly don't think it's going to go to levels like Hidden Fates or levels like Vivid Voltage or XY Evolutions, where we've got 150 to 300,000 graded copies with PSA. I don't think it's going to that level. If it stays where it is, and that's why I feel like maybe I started these videos a touch early, but we are 9 months into Scarlet and Violet. So if it stays where it is, I think it's a solid 2.5 out of 5 when it comes to supply demand and sort of that print run factor. The second criteria, if we jump straight into it, is the hits inside the set. Now, before I talk about the price of the hits, I just want to really quickly bring up the price of the sealed product. So currently a booster box in the US is going for $78.81. The ETBs respectively, there's two of course, going for $29.14 and $28.31. The things that are the standout, I guess, are the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes. One of them in particular is going for a higher price on TCG Player than a booster box. Now, just keep in mind, Australians, this is all in US dollars. We can't actually buy a booster box for that price. Like if you can pick one up for $78.81 in the US, that equates to 1.68, I think, is the conversion rate at the moment. So what, $130, $140? Like we can't get them that cheap here. They're more like, a cheap one's probably 175 bucks Australian. So I don't know, I feel like we're a bit duped there, but that's the going price. Every sort of country seems to have different market prices and different supply levels and different levels of demand, which will of course affect the box price. But anyway, they're the sealed prices. Moving on to the hits. There's only, and I say only, there's only 7 hits raw over $10 US in Scarlet and Violet base. And from the get-go, the last 9 months, they've all followed the same trend, which is this rapid decline in price. However, I will say most of them have trended with that sort of last 3 months. So it's like a rapid drop the first 6 months. But the last 3 months, a lot of them are stabilized, and even some cards have started to slowly move back up in price in the last 3 months. So there's sort of an interesting little trend with the graphs going on there for Scarlet and Violet base. The number one chase, of course, the Miriam, currently sitting at $27.29 US raw, which is actually a really, really nice looking card. I don't have this card, but I've seen it in person. It's a good looking card. The second most expensive card is and forgive my pronunciations of these, the Miraidon, $22.53. I have his opposition. I pulled that from a pack, Miraidon in the special illustration rare. Third hit being that Gardevoir at $21.44. So the top three are sort of holding their own, so to speak, when it comes to price. There's no big chase card in this set. There's no $100 chase card or even $80 chase card or even $50 chase card, like this top hit being Miriam at $27.29. The fourth main chase card, the Nest Ball, which is the gold card there at $11.93. And the fifth biggest chase card of this set, the Routes, $11.21, which is actually a pretty special looking card. To think you could pull that and it's worth 11 bucks raw seems a bit harder in it, doesn't it? But there you go. They're the top 5 chase cards and only 7 cards sitting above $10 US. So when it comes to the hits, that is both the total depth of the hits and the top chase cards, we've got to be realistic about this set. It's actually pretty poor in terms of that, okay? There's 7 cards above $10 US raw, and the most expensive chase card is $27 US. Like, it doesn't really tick the boxes when it comes to, okay, let's compare it to, say, Crown Zenith, where we've got like 30 cards above $10 US or 35 cards above $10 US, or a set like Chilling Reign that has like 40 cards above $10 US with hits, above the $50 with like, 9 or 10 cards from that set. So we've got to be realistic where that sits. Having said that though, it is the first set that introduces illustration rares and special illustration rares and new rarities across the set. And I think that sort of somewhat holds a little bit of a special place when it comes to the chase cards inside this set. It's the first of them. So for me, look, I don't want to score it a 1. I'm not going to be that harsh on it because of that. So I'm going to score it a 2 out of 5 when it comes to hits. Now, keep in mind, before we move on to that third criteria, just because it doesn't have great hits doesn't mean that it's not going to uptick in price. Like, look at Sword and Shield base set or Rebel Clash from Sword and Shield. They arguably have super weak hits, but because of their low print run in comparison to the rest of the Sword and Shield set, those sealed products have moved up in price pretty quickly. In fact, a fair bit quicker than a lot of the other sets in Sword and Shield that were printed heavier but have heaps better chase cards. Anyway, third criteria, the fun factor, or now, I suppose what I really like to call it is a reason to purchase. So how likely is it that someone's going to want to buy your Scarlet and Violet base set booster box that you've paid, I'm just going to pluck a round number out of the air, $100 US for, or 175 Australian dollars for? How likely is it that someone in 3 years' time, or 5 years' time, or 10 years' time will pay more for that box than what you've bought it for? There's only going to be a couple things that come into that equation when it comes to reasons behind it. One is, okay, streamers are going to want to open it and show it off. Today, guys, we've got a Scarlet and Violet base set. We're going to rip it open. Packs are selling for $15 each. Buy in, let's open it. Let's see if we can pull some of these first ever special illustration rares that come out in the Scarlet Violet era. Like, how likely is that to happen? Then also, I suppose the other thing is, how rare are these products going to be as a sealed product? How rare is a Scarlet and Violet base set booster box? How likely is it in someone in 3 years is going to want to trace all the way back to Scarlet and Violet base and buy themselves one for part of their collection? Like, I'm doing it to a degree, but now it's starting to get a bit expensive, where I was chasing back to try and get some of the older booster boxes. So look, they're the reasons why. How likely is it that someone's just going to want to buy it for their own personal enjoyment, just to open it, maybe be it with their kids, to relive some sort of, moment from 3 or 5 years ago? They're the only reasons people are probably going to want to buy them. Or the fourth reason, that sole investability reason, that they're hoping to then move it on for more money in the future. So how likely is that? The fun factor / reason to purchase in the future, probably a 2 or 2.5. I feel like I'm being a bit hard on it, giving it another 2, so I'm going to give it a 2.5. And if we add up the 3 criteria, 2.5 for the first criteria, being the supply demand, 2 out of 5 for the hits, and 2.5 out of 5 for that fun factor / reason to purchase, gives us a total, which sounds a bit harsh, of 7 out of 15. And realistically, like, maybe it could have deserved a 7.5, because it just feels like it's so mediocre, so middle of the road. Like, it probably sounds a bit fair scoring it as 7 or a 7.5 out of 15. Please let me know your scores down below. Again, the higher the score, the more investable the set. 7 out of 15 is where I score it. Where do you score it? Let me know down below. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I'm Michael. This is PokeOz. I'll catch everyone next time.